So I want to start by making a confession. And that confession is that I believe humankind is basically good. Now, that's not really in vogue anymore. We like to think of ourselves as sort of these dark, angry people wandering around the planet destroying each other, which seems to be what the news tells us. But I want to say, underneath all that, I really believe that man is basically good. We hear in churches sometimes that man is evil and he needs to be fixed, when in fact he needs to be redeemed because he was once good, did a bad thing, and just needs to get fixed. So we have to stop thinking about the world as evil. And this idea is really a romantic concept. It's a concept from Romanticism, and I want to say that they believe that mankind's goodness could be seen in his natural state, that human beings, when they were in their natural state, were good, that childhood was good, that emotions are beautiful and wonderful, and we need to grab onto those. And through emotion, we can inspire the world. And so with that in mind, I want to say the second half of what they said is that mankind is basically good and society makes him evil. The things of the world. They take us and they twist us so we can't see each other anymore. They obscure our vision of the truth. And I want to talk a little bit about that for a few moments. See, when you're driving in your car and some guy cuts you off, I know you say to that person through your window, "Hey, you blah, blah, blah." Or perhaps, "Why don't you go to some certain place?" Or, "Here's what I want to do to you." But you don't want to do that to that person. If you saw them on the street, playing the guitar or sitting on their porch, you'd see them as a human. But when the box is around them, you see the machine, you see society, and it obscures us from their goodness. And it forces us to see them as evil. It makes us evil in our response. These little boxes we place ourselves in, whether technological boxes around a phone or technological boxes around a car or the buildings we live in, the houses we say we own, all of this stuff obscures us from the natural goodness of the people around us. And so I am a romantic, a man of love, not just like love, like I want to hug you, like that's not what I'm talking about. That's fine, but it's not what I'm talking about. Talking about passion and compassion for other people. And it's because I believe that people are naturally good. And we need to wipe away society to see it. Like going into an antique shop and seeing a rusty lamp hanging. And that lamp is absolutely beautiful. Some people will say there's a lot of rust on that lamp. I say there's a beautiful lamp. And you know what? I don't care if I get to rub the rust off of it. I still get the opportunity to appreciate its beauty even through the dark and awful rotting nature that rust can do to something. Man is basically beautiful, basically good. Well, once we get to that point, once we can understand that man is basically good and that there's opportunities, we have to refocus the way we see the world. See, Plato said that in the universe there was this bright sunlight. And this sunlight was the good. And the good illuminated in the world the truth. And that all we needed to do was stop being stuck in some darkened cave and rise up out of it and look around so that the good could illuminate the truth around us. And what I want to say to you is, you need to do that very thing. You need to rise up out of these little caves your bodies are currently stuck in and the societal things and the consumption in our world. You need to rise up, look around, and see the truth of others illuminated by the good. And this illumination means that we're going to take our time to refocus our eyes. There's this great, well, this is a good movie. Sometimes people think it's bad. I think it's great because called The Abyss. It's this 1980s science fiction crazy film. Love the crap out of that film. And what I say is this, there's a line in it that really moves me. One of the characters turns to the other who's saying that the aliens that are appearing in the world there are evil. And she says, you have to look with better eyes than that. And that's what we need to do. Look at the world with better eyes. And we need to look at other people and see their value. Now, I'm going to talk about Kant for a second, okay? A little bit of philosophy, so hang on. So Kant said, Immanuel Kant said that we understand the world in three different ways. And he talks about it in relationship to something called quantity. And he says we see the quantity of the world in a singular, a plural, and a totality. And what I want to say is you have to stop thinking about the plural. See, when I say I want you to find the value in people, what you folks hear is, oh, people are valuable. Well, we know that. What I want you to know is I think we need to see each individual as valuable. Not the group. The group's a cheap way for us to get out of it. I want to see each person as valuable. And when I can see each person as valuable, I can have the opportunity to bring them towards developing that value so that they might serve the rest of our society, so they might serve the plurality and the totality of the people we are. So when we look at value, though, I can hear another misunderstanding potentially sort of dumping around in your brains, and that is that we're looking for some specific value in people. And I actually don't care much about that. I don't think we want to look for people's talents. Like, hey, you look like you'd be really good at video, or you might be a good actor. That seems to me to be a dead end. It's just a box we're going to jam them in again. It's just about discovering that they have value. And once we can identify the value in them, once we can acknowledge that value, we can reach our hand out and we can walk with them along our way, guiding them, helping them, enhancing the opportunities for them to become fully realized. And as a result, take their value and give it to others. Now, I know another thing that's happening here, I can just hear it in the room because we're in this capitalist commodified world, is that like what we want to do is we want to make people products, right? So like what I'm going to do is I'm going to find this person who's valuable and I'm going to build them up so that they become useful in our society and they become productive, and I actually don't care about that much either. I think by their nature, if they love other people, they see the value in others, and they work hard to make themselves better, they will make the world a better place. They will transform the world around us. I think that's what we need to look towards, and they will develop in themselves. And we're not like gurus or mentors, although mentoring's really great. We're partners, we're parents, we're lovers, bringing people from their own self-hatred and their lack of understanding of their own worth to a place where they feel worthwhile and they actualize that worthwhileness for the service of the people around them. So I'm going to talk about two people in particular. The first one is a high school kid. So there's a high school kid I worked with in 9th grade. I met him. His name is going to be Andrew for our purposes, although his name is different, but he'd probably be angry if I was using him as an example, so Andrew he is. And when I first met him in the hallway, see, I'm a high school teacher, so what my job is to go through the halls and tell kids to obey rules that for the most part are pretty stupid. But we make those rules so that we can assure that people understand that there's rules and regulations to follow in the world and they should honor people around them. So, you know, kids do their thing, they take your hat off, whatever. It seems insane to tell kids to take their hat off and get in an argument, but we do it. So this young man I met in his 9th grade year, I walk up to him, could you please take your hat off? And he said, here's where you can go. Here's what you can do to yourself. Here's what I'm going to do to you. So I said, all right, great. As I do with every kid I meet, I grabbed his hands and I said, hi, I'm Mr. Doyle. How are you? I work in the Communication Center in Norristown Are High School. And if you'd like, you can come up and have an opportunity to work in my room. I don't care what you do in the hall. Just come on up and let's see if we can give you something to do. Now, about a month later, I saw him in the hall, cutting class again, which is a habit of his. And he says to me, hey, how you doing? I said, fine. I said, listen, take your hat off, put your ID on. He said, here's what you can do with yourself. And here's what I'm going to do to you. Now comes his junior year. And we've had a regular hallway meeting throughout those next 2 years of his school. And we get to this point and I walk into my office and we're starting to set up cameras and he wanders in to my room. I'm like, hey, how you doing? He says, oh, I'm here to do something. He said, I'm really bored in history. Can I just come here and work? Now, I could have said, go back to history. But I know he's going to go back to history and yell at the teacher probably, or just walk out again. So I said, no, stay here for this period. He stayed with me from that period, and he's with me today. All I did was say, here's a camera, go make something. I didn't ask him to make something beautiful or wonderful, just something, just do it. Pick up the camera and work. And now, in my department, in his senior year, he's a leader. He makes gorgeous video. He does extraordinary things. Now, his GPA is so low, I don't know if there's a number to tabulate for the man, all right? And I'm going to do everything I can to get into college, but actually that's not the goal. The goal is to get him to be a person So eventually he serves the society, and that doesn't need to mean he needs the college diploma. We're going to try and get it for him. It'll give him some more money and make his life a little more happier, but he's a magical little guy now, okay? I love him to death. Unfortunately, I love each and every one of these stinking kids at Norristown. Can't avoid that. And you give each one their opportunity. The second half is from my theater company. My theater company's mission is to serve the population of our nation with social justice theater. But aside from that, we say we will use the underutilized actor, the untried playwright. And we do that at a high financial risk, because we do plays that cost money, and I use some actor no one's heard of and nobody comes. But here's the deal, that actor getting an opportunity to play a role they would never get to play in Philadelphia theater because it's entirely too expensive to take the risk, means that they develop as a person. They develop in our community. And now most of them, the one I'm thinking of right now in my head, is serving Philadelphia theater, not just as a lead actor in some play downtown, but as a guy who's a leader in how to be an actor and how to behave with others. And that's transformative. So our idea here is that we have to see the value in others, in some way cultivate and enhance that value, let them feel good, and send them out into the world to do good that there is, to make others' lives better, to see the value in others. Now, there is another dangerous thing that's going through all your heads, or maybe this is a thing you do, and this is a thing I have to say we have to stop. Affirmation is a dead end. Now, people are going to struggle with that because we love telling people they're good. But telling people they're good or great or wonderful or amazing or fantastic is absolutely a disaster, because it puts them in a box, it puts a superlative above them, and it tells them they're just fine. And none of us are just fine. We all need to keep growing. We can't stop. And if we say they're good enough, if we tell them they're great, they're going to stop. They're going to think they're fine, or they're going to see those words as worthless because there's nothing attached to it. We need to instead say, your work is great. The thing you're doing is wonderful. Your behavior is extraordinary. Actual outcomes from their being. And then they can identify in themselves what it is that makes that happen and enhance it. Affirmation's a killer. And I hear people use it all the time. They want to pat people on the back. They want to tell them, you're wonderful, you're a wonderful person. I feel good that we can say to people to raise their heart, encouragement, sort of a spiritual sense of bringing them from the depths. But if people are fine, we just want to push them. So sometimes I say, you stink. That was horrible. That work you just did was not good enough. But I know you can do better, or I know there's better in you, or I would love to see the next thing you make. And that drives them forward. So, affirmation's a problem. I just want to say it. Some of you guys may be bothered by that. That's my thing. Whatever, you know. I'm just going to say that's sort of where I'm at. And so once we realize that we have taught people that they are valuable, that they have worth, and we've enhanced that value, we can really see that the world can be transformed. See, I want to go back to the Romantics for a minute. The Romantics believed that we, through our imagination, could transform the world. That when we looked at the world, we can see it. Hamlet says it too. He talks about how depressed he is, and that it's just his own emotions that see that. The Romantics said, when we look at the world around us, we make it what it is. The world isn't just an abstract thing. We're developing that. And so what I say to you is, when you don't see the value in others, you make them valueless. Another hero of mine is Thomas Paine. Now, Thomas Paine wrote a whole pile of stuff you probably know, Common Sense. I personally like his more socially active economic treatises, but Paine is like a spectacular guy, and he says this wonderful thing about politics. He says, first, he's a citizen of the world. Let no nation contain his citizenship. I am a citizen of the world. He says, my church is the earth. No building can contain my spirituality. But he's talking in a political arena when he says, you have the power to change the world. Use it. And in these times, I think you need to use that political power to change the world, sure, but I want to extend that far beyond. I want to move to a different place. Another name I'm going to mention is John Keats, and John Keats is one of the greatest of the Romantic poets. You might know Ode on a Grecian Urn is one of his great works. And John Keats created a word called negative capability. And what he said is it's the time when a poet, a magical poet like he saw Shakespeare, could see beauty in the world even though it was in violation of what made the world sensible or reasonable. He said we look at the world around us and we say, oh, that is beautiful, and I know it's not really completely beautiful, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, perhaps I'm being intellectually dishonest when I do this, but I still am going to do it because the value's there. He said great poets could do that. I believe everyone can do that. I think all of you have the capacity to deal with the difficulty of learning whether people are valuable in a society that is constantly blocking your ability to see it. And so, invoking John Keats, jamming his idea into Thomas Paine, I want to say to you guys really simply that you have the power to change the world. Not just politically, but the world as it is, the world as we understand it, and the beings in it, every single being, each and every one, for the service of the totality. You have that power. Use it. Thank you.